And now, again, I've kind of gone very quickly through what this, to get to this point where Henry V makes this famous speech. And as I said, the English are on one side of the battlefield and the French on the other. And again, this really happened. This is factual information. And they can hear each other, and at night they see each other's campfires burning. And the English, like I said, they know they're outnumbered. And finally, one of the leaders, as they're getting ready to go into combat, one of the leaders from the British side, he calls out, kind of like wishing that they had more men. And it's interesting, and it's pretty important to know that, obviously Shakespeare fictionalized this in many ways, but that speech is actually rooted in a real account. It's rooted in a real account of something that was said, and the account was written by an anonymous chaplain that was like on tour with these guys, and he just wrote down what he saw. And in his report, it was a guy named Sir Walter Hungerford that suggested to the king that it would be nice if they had another 10,000 archers from England that were not doing anything, that are sitting back doing, back in England, sitting in peace, and it'd be nice if they had them there. Now in the play, it's a character named Westmoreland, who's one of the lieutenants, or one of the subordinate leadership of Henry V, and he says, "Oh, that we now had here but 10,000 of those men in England that do no work today." So he's saying that same thing. He's like, "Listen, here we are about to go to battle. We're completely outnumbered, and be nice if we had some of those other guys that are in England right now that are sitting in bed, that are doing nothing." And so now King Henry responds, and again, this is in the same vein that was documented by this anonymous chaplain. Now, of course, Shakespeare wrote it, so it's a lot more impactful, but the message is the same. And I'm going to go through this once and kind of like break it down so that we can understand what the meaning of these different words are before I just roll through it. So when this guy says, if only we had more guys. And King Henry says, "What's he that wishes so?" Meaning, who just said that? He said, "My cousin Westmoreland." "No, my fair cousin. If we are marked to die, we are enough to do our country loss. And if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor." So he's saying, no, listen, if we're going to die, we got plenty of guys here to die for our country. But if we're going to live and if we're going to win, the fewer men we have, the better, because that's more honor for us. Mm-hmm. "God's will, I pray thee, wish not one more man." He doesn't want anybody else. "By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost." So he doesn't care about gold. He doesn't care who he feeds and who eats off of his check that he's cashing. "It earns me not if men my garments wear." Meaning he doesn't care if people are either taking his clothes or if they're wearing his royal colors. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about any of that. "Such outward things dwell not in my desires." So those things don't matter to him. "But if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive." So if it's about honor, and if it's a sin to want honor and want glory, then he's the guiltiest person of them all. "No, faith, my cuz, wish not a man from England. God's peace, I would not lose so great an honor as one more man. Methinks would share from me for the best hope I have. Oh, do not wish one more." So he's just going off like, no, we don't want anyone else. I don't want to share my honor with anyone else. "Rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put into his purse." So he's okay, you know what, Westmoreland? As a matter of fact, tell everyone that anybody that doesn't have the guts or the stomach to stand here with us and fight, tell them I'll give them a passport and I'll give them money to pay for their trip home. We would not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship to die with us. He doesn't want to die with anybody that fears the duty. That's what they mean by fellowship, the duty to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian. So, Crispian, this is actually alleged twin brothers, interestingly. Crispin and Crispian, twin brothers, they helped the poor and they preached Christianity, and they were tortured by a Roman governor, and they were thrown into the river with millstones tied around their necks, and they survived. And when they survived that, they pulled them out of the water and they beheaded them. They were venerated and they became saints on October 25th, and that's called St. Crispin's Day. Sometimes it's called St. Crispian's Day, but that's what it is. So this day, this is October 25th, when they're about to fight. He says, this day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes home safe will stand a tiptoe when the day is named and rouse him at the name of Crispian. So anybody that lives through this day and comes home safe, when it's going to be St. Crispin's Day, they're going to get on their toes. They're going to be so excited about it. He that shall see this day and live old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow is St. Crispian. So again, anybody that lives through this is going to be going to their neighbors and say, hey, tomorrow's St. Crispian's Day. Then will he strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, these wounds I had on Crispin's Day. So he's going to be at their feast. He's going to roll up his sleeves and he's going to say, you see these scars? These are what I got on Crispin's Day. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot. But he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. So he's saying everything gets forgot, right? But the old man will remember the glory days of that battle and what he did. It will be the highlight of his life. Then our names, familiar in his mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. So all their names are going to be remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispin Crispian shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. So he's saying, look, this is a story that good men are going to tell their sons, and they're going to forever remember on this day till the ending of the world what we did. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers, for he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. And that one doesn't really need an explanation. But we sure do hear about brotherhood a lot. Be he ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition. So no matter where you're from, no matter what you were like, no matter what kind of a person you were, today, when he says gentle his condition, like today will make you a gentleman. Today will make you a man. And gentlemen in England now abed, so guys that are back in England right now sleeping, shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap whilst any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's Day. So, like I said, anyone that's home in England, and that word abed, it's like implies being lazy and sleeping. they're going to curse that they weren't there. And they'll know that they weren't real men. And I mean, he used the word manhood, which implies, testicular fortitude. Mm-hmm. They didn't have the testicular fortitude to fight. And that's the speech with the understanding.